Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the 76th episode of the Cotton Companion podcast. It's late July. The U.S. cotton crop appears to be in reasonably good shape despite some dry conditions, a tropical storm in South Texas, and of course, our annual insect issues. This is Jim Steadman. I'm senior editor of Cotton Grower. As always, I'm joined by Cotton Grower editor Frank Giles. And today, a special guest, Beck Barnes, joins us for this episode. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
I'm great. Boy, I'm feeling special. It's rare that I get called a special guest to anything, much less the podcast that I used to host. But I'm super happy to be jumping back on here with you and Frank.
We're glad to have you back. And you're here for a reason, and we'll get into that shortly. On that, Frank, everything okay on your end of the world?
Yes, doing well down here in Florida. We kind of are keeping the eye on the tropics right now. There's a storm out in the Atlantic that is got tropical storm potential that's sort of looking like it's got his eyes on Florida right now. So we're kind of keeping an eye on that. Maybe it'll be light, maybe bring some needed rain up into Georgia and the Carolinas because they're kind of dry on that cotton ground there.
Yeah, let's hope so. That's one of the dry areas. And of course, we're still waiting on any kind of reports out of South Texas from Tropical Storm Hannah and what kind of impact it may have had on the cotton crop. But, you know, certainly anytime a storm comes in at the point in the season where those folks were, it becomes problematic. So keeping our fingers crossed that everything goes well there. As I said, we've got some interesting topics we want to discuss today, including the long road to an award presentation. But before we get started, let's hear a short message from our sponsor, Phytogen.
Phytogen is pleased to sponsor the Cotton Companion, bringing you the latest news to help you thrive all season long.
Okay, thanks as always to the folks at Phytogen for sponsoring the Cotton Companion podcast. And as always, before we get started, we're going to turn things over to our colleague, Robin Sickberg, for a custom content interview. She's joined again today by Dr. Sean Butler, who is Phytogen Cotton Development Specialist in East Georgia.
Hello, I'm Robin Sittberg, Custom Content Editor for Meister Media Worldwide, publisher of Cotton Grower Magazine. I'm here again with Dr. Sean Butler, Phytogen Cotton Development Specialist in East Georgia. Welcome back, Sean.
Thanks for your time, Robin.
You know, the last time we talked about environmental conditions and how the season was going. And this time I'd like to ask more about what varieties are looking good so far this season.
Absolutely. So there's no question from the Phytogen brand, there's one particular variety that we're most excited about, regardless where you are in the cotton belt, and that's new Phytogen 400 W3FE. This is a yield champion with root knot resistance, bacterial blight resistance, wide strike 3 gene bollworm protection, and the elite weed control system in Enlist with Phytogen 400. Fits a lot of acres, fits a lot of different management strategies and a lot of environments. Just about wherever you are in the cotton belt, if you're going to look at a Phytogen variety, I would highly recommend looking at the mid-maturing Phytogen 400 W3FE. Additionally, for South Georgia, a couple that we're really excited about are both Phytogen 500, new for 2020, as well as Phytogen 580. These full season varieties really help us on our deep sands, especially in the droughts that we see late season. Hold on through those stresses, still able to put on more fruit and continue to produce those high yield potential and high yields with good fiber quality that we're looking for. Again, just need those full season varieties to push through that stress. One that I'm more excited about, I think, than any is Phytogen 360 W3FE. This variety is currently sold in the Mid-South, but wanted to bring it down here, kind of see how it fit in some of these more shorter season growing styles that we have in East Georgia. Again, when I saw it, it just looked like cotton and brought it down. And it's one of those that everybody's gone down the road at 70 and seen it and wanted to know what variety is that, because this just looks like cotton. It's the only way I know how to describe it.
It's nice to hear that some of these varieties are really standing out and excelling this year. What is coming down the pike in 2021? What's Phytogen working on?
Absolutely. So the one thing I think that we're most excited about bringing to the cotton industry is reniform resistance. It'll be the first commercial varieties that are resistant to reniform. And again, we talked about 360, how people have noticed it, but the reniform varieties, when you put them on acres where in the past they haven't even been able to grow cotton, it's so bad. These varieties don't seem to take too much of a lick. Roots go down, grab that moisture and water, take off, and really look to knock back those reniform populations for later on down the road. So very excited both about the resistance in reniform, but having it in a wide range of maturities with excellent yield potential and all the different protection that we offer from our other phytogen breeding traits.
It's going to be welcome news for growers who have problems with reniform. It's going to provide some nice opportunities for them. I've got to wrap up now, but I want to thank you so much for being on the program, sharing this information, and growers can go to phytogen.com for more information. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thanks for having me, Robin.
Thank you, Robin, and thank you, Sean, for bringing us that interview. With Beck joining us again today, we're going to break our format just a little bit with one quick look at one important news item of the past week, followed by a visit with Dahlen Hancock, who is our 2019 Cotton Grower Cotton Achievement Award winner. Frank, why don't you go ahead and fill us in on the big news item?
Yes, last week there was news impacting the registration of Enlist Duo herbicide, and it again involves the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. That's the same court that vacated the registrations of key dicamba herbicides a few weeks back. But this ruling was some good news in that the court upheld the registrations of Corteva's 2,4-D and glyphosate premix for over-the-top use on its enlist cotton, corn, and soybeans. This comes on the heels over the long battle with dicamba product labels, right as growers were heading into their weed control season this year. After the EPA ruling did allow growers to utilize their existing stocks of the products Extendimax, Ingenia, and Fexapan dicamba herbicides through July 31st, which is coming up fast. So, we're hearing reports that growers by and large got through this weed control season okay, but there's still work to do ahead. The legal challenge of Enlist Duo was brought by the same plaintiffs responsible for the dicamba action, including the Center for Food Safety and several other activist organizations. They challenged the EPA label of Enlist Duo for volatility potential, increased use of herbicide, the impact on habitats for monarch butterflies and other species, and other environmental harm. The majority ruling by the Ninth Circuit, with one judge dissenting, dismissed all but one of the plaintiff's arguments. The court did remand the EPA to address evidence concerning harm to monarch butterflies and whether the registration of the herbicide would lead to an unreasonable adverse effects on the environment. So the EPA and Corteva have a little work to do, but Jim, all in all, it's a better outcome than the dicamba ruling.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I think this one, as we talked about earlier when we were covering all the dicamba discussions, we knew this was on the docket, but nobody knew when it was going to actually go in front of the judges for a ruling. So it just sort of popped up last week. Simply because, and the only reason we knew about it, or I knew about it or found out about it, was because I got a nice news release from the friends at our friends at the Center for Food Safety, talking about the ruling and vowing to analyze all of their legal options, including seeking a full court rehearing. So unsurprising and from that perspective. And lo and behold, we go back and check the court docket and find the ruling that says Enlist Duo is free and clear, and the registration will continue. So I find it interesting that today I found something on the Center for Food Safety has also filed a lawsuit, just in case you're worried about who they're going after next, has filed a lawsuit in federal court against the Trump administration and USDA, challenging USDA's rules on labeling genetically engineered or GMO foods, which USDA now calls bioengineered foods. So their approach to legal action is really and truly all over the board. You got to admire their persistence in all of this, but at the same time, we've got to keep our focus on our industry and the products that our growers need to keep producing the food and fiber that's necessary on all this. And I guess now with this one behind us, we set up for the re-registration process for the dicamba products that should be coming up this fall.
Yeah, Jim, I'd just say happy, obviously, for our listeners, for our farmers, on that note about, Corteva's court victory there. Well, I wouldn't call it Corteva's court victory, but the victory for U.S. agriculture in that, 2,4-D got through the Ninth Circuit there unscathed. I would note there's apparently a monarch butterfly is a big part of this, and that's not a new issue to the cotton industry. In fact, I've been hearing from Don Parker with the National Cotton Council about this issue of dedicating acreage across the cotton belt, across the country, really, for monarch butterfly migration. And so, that's not a curveball for our industry. And in fact, I think the council in particular has been a leader on that issue and has, to this point, been a great partner with USDA and other environmental groups in supporting this effort to have designated areas for this insect. So to be honest with you, it's curveball to me to see that was included in that Ninth Circuit language regarding 2,4-D, but certainly wouldn't have been a curveball to the council and to the cotton industry as a whole.
No, not at all. And I think that was a difference between these two different lawsuits on these two different products. The dicamba suit was filed based on on the registration situation with EPA. This one came through challenging the herbicide from the Endangered Species Act perspective, which again, it's the same thing that you just mentioned, that the Cotton Council and all the other organizations have worked so closely with EPA over the last few years to make sure that type of information is included in a new product registration. So in this case, obviously, the court just basically said, go back and look at your numbers again and strengthen things up, and we should be good to go on it. So I think that's about all we can say on this one at this point, other than congratulations, and glad to keep having that product available to us.
Yeah, we only got so many tools, so.
Yes, absolutely, and the toolbox is starting to get a little slim.
Yeah.
At this point. But anyway, Beck, glad to have you back with us. At this point, I'm going to kind of turn things over to you and let you recap what has turned into kind of a long and winding road to get this, as COVID-19 obviously has detoured the in-person presentation of our Cotton Achievement Award to Dahlen Hancock out in New Home, Texas, at least until recently. So can you fill us in a little bit on what's happened and how things have happened? And I know you had a good conversation with Dahlen. We're going to share that with us, but go ahead and give us the background and kind of set things up for us.
Yeah, man. It was a long, strange trip, as my man Jerry Garcia might say. We started, well, to set the table here, for everybody, Dahlen Hancock, from out there near Lubbock, he claims New Home, Texas. Like all of us from the country, he doesn't really live inside any city limits. So I think his closest one is New Home, somewhere in that New Home, Ropesville area. So anyhow, he was our 2019 Cotton Grower Cotton Achievement Award winner. And you'll hear more about that later. He is universally beloved across the industry. Every association head and other industry sort of stakeholders who we solicit nominees from for our Achievement Award has mentioned him specifically over the past couple of years. So it was a no-brainer for us to select him as our 2019 winner. And we were going great guns, and we were going to have, as we normally do, a big luncheon where we celebrate Dahlen and his contributions to our industry. And we were going to have ideally 100 of his industry peers and friends and neighbors in the room. We were going to do it with the support of our program sponsor, Americot. They have been great sponsors of this program throughout this process. And it was scheduled for April 2nd in Lubbock, Texas, in conjunction with that Texas Cotton Gin Show, great gin show, and the PCG annual meeting. As an aside, there was going to be some nice symmetry there because Steve Verrett, who's a great friend of ours and a former Cotton Achievement Award winner, he has been kind of a mentor to Dahlen. Mentioned him as the person who really got Dahlen involved with Cotton Association work and leadership. So there was going to be some great symmetry to host this event in conjunction with PCG's annual meeting, so Steve could help celebrate Dahlen. Most of y'all can probably guess what happened to those best laid plans that were supposed to go down on April 2nd, and that was, COVID-19 arriving slowly on the high plains out there. And so like just about every other event or gathering that was scheduled for that late spring, early summer time period, we unfortunately had to cancel. And so, I made a big gushing post on Facebook about how I was going to, I got to get this trophy in the hands of our winner, Dahlen Hancock, and I was going to do it come hell or high water. And April came and went, and May came and went, and June came and went, and we were getting anxious. And anyhow, finally, quietly had the trophy shipped to Lubbock, had it actually shipped care of our friends at Americott. That's where they're based in Lubbock. And I got on the road. I wasn't going to get in an airport, but I got behind the wheel of a car with my wife, and we did the Clark Griswold thing across the country. To be sure, made a week-long pit stop in Jackson Hole and had a little vacation out of it, and then looped the long way back to Memphis down south and came through New Mexico and wound up in Lubbock. Was able to put that trophy in Dahlen's hands. I think it was around that first or second week of July. And so arrived on Dahlen's farm, and with the help of Americott, I had our sponsors in the form of Doug Fairbanks, who is a sales manager out there on the High Plains, and Cody Reap, who is a sales rep for Americott out there with their great next gen seed. On the High Plains. The company's marketing manager and my buddy Ty Curry was also there. And anyhow, what is normally a big grand event where we have a lunchroom full of 100 folks to celebrate this guy, it came down to about 4 of us. And I shouldn't leave out, my wife was a great camera person for this low-key affair, this low-key event. Anyhow, we got it done. I put the trophy in his hands, and we got some pictures, and I was able to sit down for about 10 minutes and just talk to Dahlen about what type of zany year this has been and how that's impacted his operations, not only as an advocate and association worker, but also as a farmer, how that's impacted his farm. And so that's what this conversation you're about to hear will be about. And he was gracious in hosting us, and man, I was happy as could be to get to put that trophy in his hands.
And I'm sure he was more than happy to finally get it in his hands.
Yeah. I mean, he was, to be sure, but you gotta, the best part about this job for me, Jim, and I'm sure you would agree, is to get to meet and hang out with the type of guys who we give this award to. And Dahlen he's the quintessential Achievement Award winner guy. He appreciated being recognized. He was more excited about, he was doing something in the cab of the tractor later that day, and he had a little granddaughter with him who's probably 6-7 years old. She was going to be in the cab of the tractor. He was more excited getting me out the door and being able to get to hang out with his grandkids. But, just an excellent person, and it was fun to get to hang out with him for a morning.
That's great. And now, of course, we will move ahead to, to the selection process for next year's Cotton Achievement Award winner. So, we'll start that process soon, and hopefully by January, we'll be in a position to not only announce the next winner, but also have some solid plans to present the award. But anyway, you had your chance to meet with Dahlen. Let's listen to your interview right now.
It's okay, Frank and Jim. This is Beck, and I'm out here, as y'all know, near Ropesville, Texas, with a special guest today. I'm with Mr. Dahlen Hancock. He is the 2019 Cotton Grower Cotton Achievement Award winner, our honoree, and he's somebody who was nominated. To give you guys a peek behind the curtain, Dahlen was nominated by everybody who we solicit nominations for. All of the associations and other folks who we reach out to and say, hey, can you nominate somebody for the Cotton Achievement Award? Dahlen's name came up from all of those folks, which kind of speaks to how well thought of he is. And so I'm sitting in his farm shop right now, and he's listening to me brag on him, so I should probably introduce him. Dahlen, how are you today?
I'm doing fine.
Good deal, and I appreciate you making time for me. I'm actually on your farm to hand deliver the Cotton Grower Cotton Achievement Award Trophy, which we did earlier today with the help from our sponsors, Americot and their Next Gen Seed. We couldn't give this award out without gracious sponsorship from Americot, so we appreciate them. But I've put all those, or the 2 or 3 of those guys who were here, back in the truck, and I'm just one-on-one with Dahlen at the moment. So again, I want to thank him for letting us be out on his farm today. And Dahlen, can you just tell me, or I guess I should frame it this way. We're here today to give you that trophy, as I mentioned earlier, not only on behalf of Cotton Grower Magazine, but really from the associations that you work with and from all of your farming peers. That's who we give that trophy on behalf of. And so we just wanted to say congratulations to you for being the 2019 winner.
Yeah, man, I really do appreciate you being here today. I appreciate the just the honor. I years ago, I remember telling Steve Verrett that as a young man, I just said, I don't know how. I want you to plug in, but plug me in somewhere. I don't know how I can help the industry, but I'd like to try to do my part. So that's kind of how it started. And, along the way, you just kind of evolved. You don't plan on these things. They just do as you go along. And, the main thing is just wanted to try to do my part in helping the industry. And I really, really appreciate, Americot, obviously, as a sponsor. We appreciate all the work they do for the industry. But then just all of our industry organizations, wow, when you think about all the different Plains Cotton Growers, National Cotton Council International, Cotton Incorporated. I mean, it takes everybody working together to try to navigate these times that we're in now. But anyway, I do appreciate the award, and wow, I can think of a lot of my mentors that were ahead of me that I looked up to through life, and it's very much an honor to even be thought of in the same class as some of them. So thank you very much.
Well, that's great. Yeah, you rattled off all of the various associations who you give your time to, Dahlen, and everybody who's listening knows that this has been an uncanny year, a different year. And I wonder, has this pandemic that has sidelined so many of us, especially in terms of travel, has that impacted any association plans that you had this year? I mean, were you plan to travel anywhere that's been cut off to this point?
Oh yeah, definitely. Things have definitely changed, as we all know. We're trying to navigate these kind of uncertain times, and they're definitely uncharted territory for everybody. And the industry. Thank goodness we have technology today. With Zoom and the different technological things that are there, social media, different things that give us. I'm not good with that. You can tell that kind of dates me some, but
Yeah.
but there's a lot of technology today that if this pandemic had happened, 15 or 20 years ago, I don't know, we wouldn't have been able to reach out like we have, and that's good because, like I said, I've been on a lot of Zoom calls. But yes, as far as travel's very limited. I have not traveled hardly any at all, and it's changed the dynamic, especially whenever you think about, and what I worry about a little bit is the network of, sometimes you need to be in a room face to face and across from each other, because you just, when you're planning and you're strategic planning, doing whatever you're doing, we can do it through virtual, not virtual. That's not what's the word I'm trying to use.
Video chatting in, video conferencing.
Yeah,
and
video
stuff like
conferencing,
that. Yeah.
things like that. We can definitely do it that way, but I worry about at some point I hope we can get back to where we're together some. That definitely will help, just from the networking standpoint of just kind of brainstorming and doing it all. But it is a new way to do things. That's for sure.
Yeah, you remind me of a conversation I was having with a buddy of ours down in Alabama, Nick McMicken, and I was talking to him about this dicamba regulation that came down a few weeks back, and just kind of getting his perspective on things. And he mentioned to me that I think it was a year ago, he and a group of farmers had been in D.C. advocating on behalf of, responsible use of this types of technologies and stuff. And, you just wonder how impactful those conversations are when they're face to face versus when you got to do it over a phone from 1,000 miles away. You could tell that it would be nice for folks like him and folks like you to be able to, on important issues like that, to be able to go and be face to face in somebody's office and have those important conversations. But to your point,
Well, one thing that I think is going to come out of this, I think it is stretching our limits, and we're learning things that we didn't know we could do. We're realizing that even through some of these Zoom meetings, and I think, there may be ways in the industry that we move forward in a positive light. I mean, I'm saying, but I just hope we don't lose. And I think everybody would really will cherish the time whenever we can, especially with your industry peers that you've been working together on different issues and topics and different things, just as to your point, that are very detrimental to our industry and will change the course of our industry going forward. Sometimes you really need to be sitting face to face with that guy or that group and getting your message across. So it's going to be different. It'll be interesting to see. I know we have changed on the farm, how at the farm level COVID has affected some things, doing things a little different. But it's just part of the this pandemic and the way it is right now and what we're having to do to navigate through it.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned on the farm. That's actually what I wanted to ask you about next. What are, if any, kind of bigger changes that you've had to think about on your farm in terms of your tractor drivers, your help, or even just going into the co-op, going into the farm store? Are you able to do that and get the sourcing supplies and inputs that you need? Yeah,
it's definitely been a challenge. We're lucky in the regard that when you work outside, and as we do, and like you said, with your employees, most of the time they are separated in kind of social distancing anyway, because, you can do a lot with, your phone as far as instructions and orders and kind of the daily routine of what they're going to do. And then they can go and get in the tractor and they're by themselves. But when you have to go to different vendors, it has been a challenge. We're just practicing everything that's out there that CDC puts out. We're wearing our mask whenever we're out and about, trying to be, as I guess, safe as possible. The main thing that I've seen more than anything through this whole thing, and then talking not only to our industry but other friends in other industries, is how difficult every step is to do. Everything that you do, it seems like each task that you have to take on, it takes 2 or 3 more things to get it done than before. As simple as handing someone at the FSA office, going down and handing them your paperwork, or doing your paperwork to certify, and different things that come, say, with those type of agencies. Then they get in lockdown, and all of a sudden, you've got to do everything through email, which is fine if you can do that. Each step is just taking longer. That's what I've found. My day routine, I don't usually get accomplished everything that I was wanting to get accomplished, because it's just different times we're in. But we're navigating. We're making it through it. We're figuring it out as we go. Yeah, it's really a blessing. I hadn't thought about that, going to agencies like the FFSA and needing to do that online now. And I mean, gosh, I know it hadn't been too long since folks from where I'm from just recently got, everybody just got online out in the country and rural, Wi-Fi access and broadband access out in the country where inherently most of Cotton Grower Magazine's audience lives, So it's a blessing that for folks that are able to hop online and be able to take care of some of these little menial tasks that are just part and parcel of what we do on the farm, as you mentioned. So I don't know. It's interesting, not to step on the toes of what you were saying, but no, I would agree. I agree 100%. It's definitely different, and it's a lot harder in some ways. But then there are things that it stretched us to be better at. Just what you just said. I mean, for example, going back, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, to be able to email the way we do, and and scan documents and send them, and, just different things. We in the country, I'm just saying, rural America, like you said, I think we're getting a lot better, and a lot of the technology that, these seed companies, John Deere, there's a lot of apps and different things, but that we can do, that the technology's there, that we can pull data, like my operations on John Deere, I use that.
Yeah.
We can pull information and pull things off that then we can send and disseminate that information out. And I'm just saying those kind of things have really helped, where used to, we were more hands-on.
Yeah.
It was different. So like to my point, I know it's hard. I said it earlier, this pandemic is not good and it's a challenge, but it would have really been a challenge 15 or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I think even more so than today.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Well, speaking of challenges here on the farm, tell me about just this growing season thus far. What have you seen? I know you mentioned to me y'all had some storms here. It's funny, my other feet on the ground who I check in with out here in the Lubbock area, before I came out here, had told me that it'd been dry in a lot of spots. And I talked to you, and that has not been the case 100% of the time on your operation. Is that right?
Well, that's true. We're kind of in a little isolated area, kind of south of Lubbock in the Lynn County, area, kind of Lubbock County, Lynn County region, where I mainly farm. We've had really an unusually high amount of rain in the last 3 months, in the last 2 months in particular, whereas there's a lot of regions that are dry. They couldn't even get a crop going. There's no dry land, miles and miles of just brown dirt. But our little area, for some reason, for whatever reason, we've had quite a lot of rain. The storms have come hard and fast, though.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be storms. That's kind of the nature of West Texas. A lot of times a storm will come across, and it may, you may get an inch or two of rain, but it may come in, just a few, literally 20 or 30 minutes. It comes pretty fast sometimes.
Yeah.
So those kind of rains are detrimental, and we've had rain, but not the kind of rain you'd really like. So the crops look like it. They're pretty beat up. A lot of this cotton was planted back in the middle of May, and it's very ragged looking. It looks like it's been through a couple of severe storms, as it has. So it's a mixed bag. There's some dryland cotton, some good cotton. Some of the prettiest cotton that I haven't seen, but they tell me, is south down in the Lamesa area. I've heard there's some irrigated land down in there where they have drip or pivot, and it's like a little oasis of cotton in one little spot, and then it's miles of brown, nothing, because it didn't have any moisture, no rain to get it up. So that's it's been a tough, challenging year for West Texas, for sure.
Still time to get it turned around, though, huh?
Yeah, well, for those guys that failed out crops and it's dry, the dry land, they're pretty well done.
Yeah.
But now the irrigated crop, yes, we've still got a chance. And then in my zone, the dryland cotton that we actually kept, where it's had the rain, it looks really good. Other than just some damage to the leaves, and we've had some hail. We've actually had to zero some, fail some out.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, in West Texas this year, whenever you've gotten rain, a lot of times we've gotten some hail with it, and it's been a tough, different year.
Yeah. There's just so many ways to lose a field of cotton out here. It's a tough country, but y'all are tough farmers. I tell you, Mr. Dahlen, I'm running long here, and I've used too much of your time today. You've been gracious hosting us, and I appreciate you. The 2019 Cotton Grower Cotton Achievement Award winner, Mr. Dahlen Hancock. Thank you, sir.
Well, I appreciate you, and thanks for all y'all do, just taking care of our industry and keeping us up to date on what's going on, and just reporting on the industry and all the news that you put out. I love reading all the articles, and thanks for what y'all do for our industry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Beck, and thanks to Dahlen for his cotton industry outlook, for his service to the whole industry, and for the work he does right there on his farm. That pretty much wraps up this episode of the Cotton Companion podcast. Thanks to Beck Barnes for joining us again today. It's good to have you here again, and we will rope you back into this again before you know it.
Well, y'all know where to find me.
I do know where to find you. And thanks also to Dahlen Hancock for his time in joining us. Thanks to the folks at Phytogen for sponsoring us, and thank you too, dear listeners, for joining us. If you like what you're hearing, please be sure to spread the word and tell your farmer friends about this podcast. They can find Cotton Companion in 3 easy ways. First, they can go to cottongrower.com, add a /companion, so it reads cottongrower.com/companion, or you can simply click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. So also, you can subscribe to our channel on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts these days. Or number 3, you can sign up for our weekly e-newsletter, the Cotton Grower e-news, and that hits your email inbox every Tuesday morning. You can do that by going to cottongrower.com/subscribe.
Also, be sure to follow us on social media. We are at Cotton Grower Mag on Twitter, and you can find us on Facebook by searching Cotton Grower Magazine. And for those of you who like to hold and read Cotton Grower Magazine in your hands, the paper print issue of our August-September issue will be coming your way in the next few weeks.
Okay, this podcast is produced by Tyler Hatch and Kim Henderson, our talented colleagues back at the mothership, as Beck always put it, for Meister Media Worldwide in lovely Willoughby, Ohio. My name's Jim Steadman, and I'll be back with you in a few weeks for the next episode of the Cotton Companion. For now, on behalf of my own Cotton Companions, Frank Giles and Beck Barnes, we wish you all the best and stay safe.
Phytogen thanks you for listening to this edition of the Cotton Companion. To learn how you can thrive with Phytogen, go to phytogen.com.